Welcome back to the Keep Your Torch Lit podcast. We are now on episode 6. We've come a long way. I'm Sarah.
I'm Jack.
And I am Sam. Yeah, we have come a long way, from the very beginning where we kind of just stumbled onto a podcast and just kind of rambled our thoughts on an episode, and to this point where we now have a celebrity named George Jane. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Yanye? I think it's Yanye. It's Yanye West.
Yanye West. George Yanye West has been on our podcast. We've now reached millions of people through our connection.
Billions.
So, who are the billions going to see this episode? Who is our guest star? Who we will reveal that at a later time.
I don't know if there's anyone that could outshine George, but I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll
see.
We are sadly no longer all together in Sarah's closet, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I know.
Although that was quite a great time last time. Once again, we're back to the dreary, wintry streets of Ann Arbor.
It's pretty dreary in Chicago too, honestly.
It's dreary all over. I think we're in a dreary world right now.
Oh no! Yeah, the highs of Valentine's Day is kind of worn off.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how we had a lot of great talk about romance on Survivor Michigan. Now it looks like this episode kind of transitioning from romance into maybe not dreariness, but it's not as much. Love isn't as much in the air anymore. Yeah. There's probably some different stuff in the air. So why don't we get into some of that?
Yeah, let's just start off with the thumbnail of this episode. The first thing you're going to see, and I have to say, this is an incredible thumbnail. We just see Matthew Israel holding up these extensive notes about this decision tree, about a 3-3-4-2, and I'm just...
Exactly, like there's no more love in the air, but we have Matthew's notes in the air.
Yeah. We have these cold, hard facts that he's been preparing this whole time, and like the thing is...
Facts don't care about your feelings, that's the thing.
Exactly. And we just, honestly, this week, I feel like we've been slacking on preparing our notes and preparing what we're going to talk about. I think we need to bring in a master or a lion maybe to hear a little bit of a roar.
Oh,
yeah, we need to observe a master here at work.
Well, coming to you live from my apartment, it's Matthew on the podcast.
Whoa! Matthew?
Well, where did Matthew come from?
Glad to be talking to a couple bigwigs of the podcast game. So thank you guys for having me on. Excited to break down this episode. It definitely was a fun one. Got a lot of thoughts, even though it's been a little while, but this episode stick out in my mind after all this time. So excited to get into it with you guys.
Yeah. Well, I just want to also wish you a belated happy birthday.
Yes, it's my Redemption Island year, the big 2-2. Great season, by the way, despite popular opinion. But yeah, celebrated my 22nd birthday on Saturday.
Yeah. Some other time, Matthew, we can have another debate about about Redemption Island. Me and Matthew in the producer chat last year, we were, instead of planning the challenges and tribals and whatever of Survivor Michigan, we were just arguing about whether or not season 22 Redemption Island was a good season. Which definitely is not. Whatever. We can get into that at a later time.
Yeah, Matthew, I can pull out my season rankings at some point if you guys want to, but maybe that'll be a topic for another podcast.
So I'm thinking you might be biased here because the people at home can't see this, but I'm looking at Matthew's laptop right now, and I see this cutout picture of Boston Rob. It takes up almost the entire right half of the computer. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I have a couple of Survivor stickers on my computer, so if you couldn't tell, I might be a fan of the show.
So Matthew, let me ask you right away: Are you trying to become the Survivor Michigan Boston Rob? I mean, there's definitely been a lot of comparisons. You're wearing the tank tops, you're maybe even getting into a little Rob and Amber showman. So I mean, that's the thing. What's happening there?
I mean, maybe that was a thought going into the game to be a little Boston Rob. But I have a lot of favorite characters, so I was also hoping to become my own character so that people would try to want to become the next Matthew.
Yeah,
so
speaking of becoming a character, we talked about in the past couple episodes how Matthew in the game is super different from Matthew in real life. So was that something that were you trying to play a character, or did you just kind of get really into the game and a different side of you came out? Like what was the situation with that?
Well, to answer your question, Sarah, I think, yeah, a lot of people have mentioned that to me, that there's a difference between Survivor Matthew and real Matthew, especially my family and people who know me pretty well. I think my grandma texted my mom. She's like, Matthew's definitely not an introvert after watching me, which is not true. In real life, I would call myself an introvert. But I mean, this was just something I was so passionate about. And like the interest in the game and my commitment to it, that was real. Some of the extraness and the cockiness, calling myself the Lion, that was a little for the camera. I mean, my biggest fear was that this season would happen and, I would just kind of be irrelevant. So I basically said, that's not going to happen. I'm going to be a character. I'm going to be memorable. Whether that was the right decision or not, I think it was. Definitely got to mention a lot in the comments, some positive, some negative. But basically, I just wanted the season to go through, and I knew there was like a 1 in 18 chance that I would win. But you can control whether you're a big character or not, because in real life, I can't compare to a Lavana or a Tarowski. But when I'm talking to the camera about Survivor, then I can compare, I guess. So yeah, I was trying to make myself into a big character so that I could, stand out. And I just wanted to be somebody that I would enjoy watching. I do enjoy watching it, but it's a little bit different when it's actually you. But I knew that I would be somebody that I would enjoy watching if I was a fan, basically. So.
Oh, that definitely makes sense. You know what? Speaking on that subject of what your family and friends think of you, let's bring in our second guest star of the evening. Whoa! Brought to you live from Matthew Israel's couch, Matthew's girlfriend.
Whoa.
All right. Then what title do you want?
I mean, it's fine outside of the game, but like I feel like if you just watched the episode and you said Matthew's girlfriend, I don't know if that's what I want to be.
Yeah, this is my girlfriend Sophia.
Yeah.
Sophia. All right. So
I'm not a fan of game Matthew. I'll just say that.
Yeah, Matthew in the game is not very dateable. But outside the game, I hope I do a little better.
Yeah, Sophia, I'm curious of your reaction to watching Survivor Michigan. Were you thinking, is this the same person that I'm dating right now?
Well, so we knew each other while he was playing, and he would like tell me stuff that he had done, and I was like, really? Like, you did that? You said that? Like, it was pretty surprising. So like I kind of knew that it was gonna be cringy at least, and then it was.
Well, some people might say cringy. Some others might say one of the most fun characters to watch. Yeah. Observe the master, as they say.
I've enjoyed.
It can be both, exactly.
Yeah. People, I've gotten the positives. I saw a comment on this most recent episode that said Matthew thinks way too much of himself. I hope somebody knocks him down a peg soon. I also had people reach out to me on Twitter who are like, I know you're probably getting a lot of hate, but you're like one of my favorite players to watch and stuff like that. So there's been a little bit of both, which I expected, but I'm fine with how it came out, basically. So it's fun. Yeah.
I sometimes I do kind of get in a late night binge watch of the top 10 cringeworthy moments compilations. So even though something might be cringy, it's you can't stop watching.
Yeah, at least once an episode there'll be something where I'm like, why did I say that? Yeah, maybe sometimes twice an episode. Especially the one where I was referring myself as the Lion. I kind of forgot that I had filmed that one, honestly. I did remember the one where I was like, would I call myself the mastermind? Yes, I would. And I was praying that George wouldn't put that in there, but he did, because George sees everything. Nothing gets by him. If it's worthy of being put in the episode, George will find it. But yes, I don't even think I realized when I was filming those, realize that this is actually going to be shown on YouTube and stuff like that. But now I do. But it's still all good. So I appreciate what George did and the way he portrayed me. So he knew I wanted a big edit, and he gave it to me.
He's definitely delivered on that.
Yeah, yes, he has.
Well, who doesn't think you're a big character is Liz, because she thinks all the boys are robotic.
Yeah, Liz said I didn't.
Right.
Yeah, Liz commented that none of the guys have feelings, but that honestly really hurt my feelings. She doesn't think we have feelings. But yeah, Liz is cool. I know in the game it seems like we didn't really get along that well, but outside the game we're fine. Liz is really cool. But yeah, in the game we up until that point, hadn't talked one-on-one and stuff like that. So I could see where she was coming from. Basically, I didn't blame her. So
it's funny. Definitely did kind of get like I don't know if a lot of you have heard this term, but like game body kind of description of the guys, where basically she was kind of describing Matthew, Mitch, and Cam is just like ultra focused on strategy and just like ignoring the other aspects, whether or not that's necessarily true, could have definitely been an exaggeration. I did think it was kind of a funny thing where, she kind of went into like, wow, these guys just like don't have feelings. They're just robots out there.
Yeah, I think that's something that even in College Survivor, like a tip to anybody who's thinking about playing, like make sure if you talk to somebody, like at least 5 or 10 minutes of like social conversation, so that you can actually be friends with them and not just focus entirely on strategy. I think that's where a lot of that was coming from, which I didn't realize in conversations and stuff like that the entire conversation would be about the game, and obviously that comes across somewhat game body. So
just get a little stopwatch, put the timer to 7.5 minutes. And when it goes off, you can transition into the real talk. So just, that's how it's got to be. It's got to be that way. Yeah. No, that's funny. So Liz was, delivering this confessional talk, kind of roasting the guys there for their emotions. But at the same time, I think some people were roasting Liz for her deciding to wear a choker.
Oh, yeah. Do not get me started on this, but I love the choker look. I think that, especially in this game where we've lost a couple fashion icons early, I think Liz is going full tilt into becoming our new fashion icon. I mean, this is just a blast from the 90s, blast from like 2006, and just like right onto our computer screens. And I loved every moment of it.
Absolutely. Being a fashion icon doesn't mean you wear what's popular. It means you wear what, might generate some buzz. It might draw some big reactions from people, but Liz isn't afraid to just go all the way, and I've definitely appreciating her kind of picking up the torch that Shay and Nikhil dropped when they were voted out as the previous fashion icons of this season. So Liz, I want to thank you for boldly and bravely picking up that torch.
I also wanted to quote Mitch in the group me. Mitch commented, "If Brittany Silverman can say I'm stuck in the 1800s, then I can say that Liz Ladwig is stuck in 2005 with that choker."
Oh man,
Mitch. You know who else made a fashion change in this episode was Cam. He took his sling off because he wanted to seem stronger.
Oh wow,
yeah,
what a strong boy. He got injured in some nondescript way, playing Quidditch or whatever. And now he's fueling all of his energy back into his arm and healing himself. It's quite incredible.
Yes. I mean, I feel like I remember at the beginning of the season, we kind of were seeing flashes of Cam being like a competitor. I remember how there was the confessional where Matthew was describing exactly what strategy he was going to use in the challenge where you're knocking the cups off of the ping pong paddles. And you see Cam just like perfectly pull it off and kind of embarrass the other tribe.
Yeah, I usually talk a big game. Cam actually performed in the challenges.
Yeah. Cam performed well in the challenges. Not to say that Matthew was performing badly in them, but Cam was definitely kind of living up to, I think, a title of a big competitor.
Yeah, no, up until this point, I've been pretty shitty in the challenges, especially if you see Cooper dominate all of us in Nukem and him beat me in the memory game. So, yeah, challenge game up to this point has been pretty terrible.
I think Cooper has been the challenge piece so far this season.
I'd agree.
Who would have thought that, seeing this like cute little boy with his glasses walk on in the first day, that he's the challenge beast? He's like the Ozzy out here.
Looks like a little snowman just buttoned up in his little shirt with his little glasses and charcoal teeth.
He just got to grow his hair out a little bit, and then he's basically Ozzy.
Pretty much.
I mean, yeah, that's one of the things you would have to do.
So we all know that Matthew is really good at managing girls and whatnot. But we also learned this episode that he's also good at managing short-term versus long-term views. So, Matt, you were saying how if this was the final 6, you would win. So at that point, were you really positioned the best within that Maison, old Maison 6 alliance, you think?
I think it's complicated. I think at that point in the game, Mitch and Leia were willing to lose Liz only due to the fact that they thought a swap was coming. If this had somewhat been final 6, I honestly think it might have been split 3-3, me, Brittany, and Cam on one side, Leia, Liz, and Mitch on the other. But I think Mitch and Leia both knew a swap was coming. And so that's kind of why they, threw Liz under the bus a little bit, especially in that OG4 meeting. But at that point, I thought the pecking order, at least personally, would have been Liz, then Mitch, and then probably Leia, and then hopefully would have taken, Brittany and Cam to the end at that point. That's kind of what I was thinking, that if, Maison was the final 6, that's what I wanted to do at that point in the game. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. We definitely did see you and Cam kind of develop that relationship really from day one, at the very beginning. That was, I think, the first video of two people strategizing that we saw. I remember you mentioning, I'm not sure how verified it was, that you thought that it was the first strategic conversation of the season that had happened.
So as far as I know, that's the first one-on-one strategic conversation in Survivor Michigan history. So
well, there you go.
Proud to be in the record books for that.
Absolutely.
So I guess it's not a surprise that we kind of seen you and Cam stick together all the way up until now.
Yeah, can we get into that a little more? Because I think that's been definitely an interesting relationship so far. Has been you and Cam. So, what made you originally like drawn to Cam to want to work with him? And yeah,
I mean, Cam just seemed like a cool guy. You see in that Jimmy John's, meeting. He was pretty social. Also, on like day one, we both kind of we were one of the first people that showed up there. So just started talking, got to know him. We were both kind of interested in the same things. He was a big Michigan basketball fan, like went to a lot of games, and so did I. So kind of talked about that for a while. And then the fact that we both walked the same direction away from Jimmy John's was just sort of, a natural match made in heaven, basically.
Oh. Is he picky about food too?
I don't think so.
Opposites attract too.
Yeah, that's true.
I just think it's funny how different Matthew's confessionals are from Lavana's. Matt, with yours, they're like super intense, like strategy, like so many things going on at once. And Lavana's just all like, I slept a little bit, went back to New York. She like gives us a room tour, takes us to the bathroom. How do we feel about this bathroom confessional?
I love that Lavana, I don't think realizes that she's playing Survivor. I think she got picked to be on like a YouTube vlog series. Like it really seems like she was just like vlogging her day-to-day life, which is just incredible to me.
Yeah, she talked about having short-term memory loss, and then like forgot what she was saying as she was saying it. Like I have short-term memory loss because I was in my lecture. Oh wait. And she like pauses and like tries to remember what she was going to say, and then like tells a story about turning in a paper twice, but like couldn't remember the way that the story went as she's telling it. Like she's just given us a lot of gold in this episode.
So basically, Lavana is Dory from Finding Nemo.
We're just creating so many animal and creature personifications of this cast. And any opinions do you have, Matt, of any animals or creatures that can be assigned to people in the cast that hasn't been done yet?
No, I think you guys have been pretty spot on. I know I assigned myself a name in my confessional, so if you guys want to stick with that.
You're a lion, so are you gonna be Simba, or are you going to be
Mufasa
or Scar?
You're gonna be the cowardly lion from Wizard of Oz.
Sometimes I get
Alex
the ones from the Lion King confused and can't remember which one's the good guy and which one's the bad guy.
Would you rather be the good guy or the bad guy?
That's a great question. Am I a hero or a villain? That's up to the viewer. So yeah.
Sophia,
Scar
is Matthew Mufasa or Scar? True.
I just feel like he's
I'm a hero.
trying to be a bad guy, but I just don't think he can pull it off. Like, not long term.
Whoa.
That's
Short term, yeah, but like long term.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I think that Sophia's trying to say that Matthew just has such a heart of gold that you're really not a villain. Aww.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll call myself a hero. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, don't say that.
Well,
I wouldn't go that far.
All right. But yeah, no, going back to Lavana, I think it was hilarious because we're seeing these confessionals of Lavana. She takes us to the bathroom with her. And then all of a sudden we're getting to the Casino Gate.
Oh, Christmas Gate.
Christmas Gate? No, it was Casino Gate.
It's Santa Gate.
Snapchat gate.
Snapchat Gate. I just love
Snapchat
that
Gate.
it all happened on Christmas. And this is just a beautiful Christmas gift to the viewers. Because I think the number one topic on everybody's mind when they first saw that Alex Thal and Alex Tarowski were like such good friends, roommates, so they're like, okay, when is everybody else going to find out? When is it going to be revealed? And we came very, very close to that.
I love how in the snap, Tarowski has like no idea what's going on. He's like zoned out watching TV. Like the star of that snap is the dancing skeleton in the background.
Yeah.
So the funny part about this is that Tarowski was super mad. And I think they had like their first fight over Survivor. They're like, we never really got into fights until this. And then Tarowski confiscates his phone, which is such a dad move, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
I wondered if he also gave him a timeout, Just like put him in the corner.
And Thal just seemed like he felt like so bad. He was just like,
Yeah.
It's the worst day of my life.
Yeah, I can't believe I did this to Tarowski.
Oh.
Well, okay, so they had mentioned that two people had seen the snap story before. I assume it was taken down or something. I don't know.
Yes.
They said it was Angela and they say Akshay, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing where I was kind of curious. I was surprised that because they said that Angela responded wow. And I guess we can get into the aftermath a little bit later. But still, my initial thought is you have two people that see this, they're going to tell everybody, right? I think that's kind of what the Alex assumed.
I was gonna say after the swap, maybe we'll touch back to this later. But Akshay definitely said something to me. He's like, the Alexes are so close. They went camping together. I saw it on their Snapchat.
Ooh, there was a little bit more talk about it than we thought.
Yeah, did that make the episode?
I don't think him saying that made it, but he definitely said it. He didn't know at that point they're roommates. But no, I think the main point was that everybody at that point already knew the two of them were, super tight. We didn't know how tight, but everybody knew they were tight at that point. So,
and I guess that can kind of explain why it wasn't like your super huge deal, because I think maybe they were worried that like, oh no, like nobody knows that we're tight, and now they're gonna realize that we're tight and see us as huge threats and blah blah blah. Maybe it's like everyone kind of knew they were tight and for whatever reason just didn't see that as super threatening, or maybe it didn't see that as the biggest threat at the moment. So maybe there wasn't, because there was kind of like, I think after all this drama, it didn't really blow up like we thought it would. I guess maybe part of the reason for that is that like people just didn't see it as a big surprise. Because as you see them kind of like talking about like, oh no, like what are we gonna do? Like we had to get our story straight. They tried to make up this like crazy story of how they like met as a coincidence.
Yeah, I think it would have been like you said, everybody kind of assumed they were close. It would have been a much bigger deal if somebody had seen, say Cooper and Leia on a Snapchat together. Yeah. But the fact that they were in the same alliance, were clearly working together. It's like, oh, they're tight outside the game too. Good to know.
Yeah, it wasn't like they were like hooking each other into their beds that they shared together. Their little bunk bedroom that was actually
a little slight inside info. But in last episode after the summit, when we all go to Tarowski's house, he tells us this, after the season, that he was actually at that point, like he was texting Thal and saying like, make sure you're not like at home, go hide in your room, basically, because we were going over to Tarowski's house. We ended up just staying out on the porch, and Tarowski didn't bring us inside because he didn't want us to see Thal there. But he was madly texting him like, make sure you stay inside. Like we're all going to hang out on the porch, basically. So.
Oh my God. I remember that shot on the porch. I didn't realize that was at Tarowski's house.
Yes.
Wow. That's so funny that he's just like stuck indoors, like trapped, and you guys are like having fun on the porch.
I really wish that he would have just like came up behind you guys in the window and just like waved at the camera and like ran away.
That would have been tough to deny if that had happened. But.
Oh man, wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so I was wondering if I don't know if you would know or not, but do you know how they handled like people meeting up at their houses if they lived together? Like, do they have like a separate house that they pretended that Thal lived at or something?
I think they probably just told people to meet up at like public places. I think because obviously if one of them were to meet at that house one time, then everybody would assume that was one of their houses. So basically what they do is meet in public places.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, because you said there was the one time that you went to Tarowski's, so I guess my assumption is that Thal would probably never invite people there. When they were saying all this stuff in a row about like, oh, we both named Alex T, and oh, we both have some of the same mannerisms. Oh, we live in like the same street, and now also we're both in the same hotel. Like it does kind of seem like, man, like there's all these things that are definitely kind of adding up to like there being a bigger picture. I mean, I guess no one really could have predicted they were apple picking and kayaking and going to the hospital for kidney stones together, but that definitely was pretty public that they had gone to Christmas time.
Hey, Matt, did you ever stalk the people you were playing with on social media?
I think I tried to, not very in-depth, but I think we tried to.
Okay.
At least, I mean, not like stalking to see if like they knew other people in the game, but just, kind of friend them on Facebook and stuff like that, but didn't do anything in-depth. But, I mean, both the pairs who knew each other did a lot to hide it. So even if I was looking, I wouldn't have been able to find it. So.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, I think that it's probably about time we get into one of the bigger moments. This episode had a lot of big moments, but one of the bigger moments of the episode happened right at night as we're getting ready for the challenge. Everybody goes to the tennis courts, and George tells them to drop their buffs. We are swapping.
Oh my gosh. Matt, what was your reaction to this?
I kind of saw it coming. We all kind of thought George wanted us to swap at the summit, and when we didn't, we assumed it would come at some point, so... wasn't really surprised when he said drop everybody's buffs, and then obviously he has us all pick the rocks. I wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to be tribe captain. I mean, I guess I was one away. Liz was standing to my right, and there were two rocks left, and she picked the colored one. So I was close to being a captain, but I guess I'm glad Liz got it because it was fun to see Liz go up there and really struggle with picking tribes. I probably would have had the same struggle too, but it was clear that Liz had a tough time picking people for her tribe. So.
Yeah. So before you were picked, it was kind of like the teams were Liz, Cooper, Leia, and then there was Lavana, Mitch, and Akshay. This was before you were picked. So which side did you want to be on at that point?
Probably would have wanted to be with Cam, I guess, but I also wanted to be picked. So I think I was fine when Lavana picked me, and basically I realized both tribes were probably going to end up being 3 versus 3. So it wasn't like one tribe was going to be better in terms of numbers. And I felt good with, everybody in the Maison 6 for the most part. So I knew whatever tribe I ended up on, it would be 3-3, and I would have some Maisons that I could work with.
And why do you think no one picked Kara?
I think that's a good question. Well, obviously, Anila was going to be one of the last people picked. And I think when it got down to Angela and Kara, Liz at that point, because when we talked to Kara during the scavenger hunt, she was there at the arch as well. And we kind of got some info out of her that she might be on the bottom. So that's why Liz picked her really quickly, was because she thought, Angela might be the one on the bottom. She might be the most likely to flip. So that's why she picked her over Kara, I think.
Okay.
Which is interesting because, I guess kind of looking at Neela, we haven't really seen them go to tribal in a while, but it kind of has seemed that Angela's pretty solidly with the Alexes and Kara by that point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if I can, this is just from my opinion, maybe I guess I have no idea because this Neela tribe didn't go to tribal again, but it definitely seemed like there's kind of, now maybe nobody's really on the bottom, but there's definitely kind of like a 4-person thing with the Alexes, Kara, and Angela, then kind of like the trio of Cooper, Akshay, and Lavana on the bottom, kind of having to go up against the 4. So I think that's kind of interesting. I guess at the beginning, Angela definitely was on the bottom, kind of being on the outs for the Jonathan vote. But I definitely have been impressed with Angela and kind of seen her position herself a lot better throughout the game.
Yeah, Angela has really come out from being like the underdog, I think. Like, she's put in work. I like that she's not just sitting back and like letting things happen. Like, she's actually trying to better her position in the game. And so I am rooting for Angela right now for sure. And Matthew.
I think definitely. Yeah, it seems like on both tribes, there are kind of like these 6s that formed of people who are really like playing the game hard. And then there's a 3, there were people kind of more on the outside. Not that like Sarah Gallagher and Jonathan weren't like playing hard, but like they were just on the outside of that 6 for whatever reason. And I think that out of like all those people who are on the outside of the 6s, Angela has definitely done the best job of kind of realizing that where her spot was and kind of finding a crack in that larger 6 and like working back into it.
I was really surprised, given how much Maison was kind of dominating in the beginning, that they ended up having to vote out. Was it 3 people in a row?
Yeah. We kind of blew our 2-person lead. So.
Yeah, that was definitely not what I was expecting. I was kind of thinking like, man, this Neela tribe is going to get decimated. And all of a sudden, like, definitely a big turnaround.
Then all of a sudden, Cooper realized how to play challenges, and he's like, "Oh wait, I am Ozzy."
That's right, because Maison did not lose.
Yeah.
Maison did not lose to Neela. They lost to Cooper. As Leia has said, probably about 50,000 times.
Cooper's got the brains, the bronze, and the beauty.
True, that's true.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, which tribe would you put Cooper on? I think all 3. He's literally the epitome of all 3. So.
We would probably need to clone Cooper and put a different version of him in all 3.
And he's a hero and a healer and a hustler, I think, as well.
I agree.
Wow.
He's also a hero and a villain, so he's just everything.
And he's a David and a Goliath.
Oh, yeah.
And a white collar, blue collar, and a no collar all at once. So.
And he's a blood and he's a water.
Yeah. Very versatile. But yeah, what did you guys think of the Newcomb Challenge? I know that was a tough one. I'd never heard of that game before. Cooper had heard of it and played it at camp before, apparently, so that's why he dominated. And basically, before we even figured out the strategy, Cooper had destroyed us. But what do you guys think? Was that a fun challenge to watch?
I loved it, especially because I actually am a Newcomb fiend. Like I wonder if we went to the same camp, me and Cooper, because that's like I would do that all summer basically, especially in like elementary, middle school. So I would have loved to got a chance to go out there and dust off the old rusty Newcomb skills. Like I could have. It's just such a fun game to like. Just to play and just like screw over people and like do little fakes and just like pound the ball down. Like, it's so much fun.
Yeah. I never heard of it, but I've definitely played like similar games and like feel like I'd really enjoy that game.
Yeah. It looks fun. It was like kind of like the line was kind of iffy on what was defined as underhand and overhand for some of the throwing, because it was like, it was done with like a little teeny like tennis net. I think I usually played Newcomb on like a volleyball net. So it was a little bit, I think, of a different strategy. But yeah, definitely being someone like Cooper who was like had experience playing and knows how to play gives you like a huge advantage, because it takes just one round for the other tribe to even figure out like the strategy, and by then you're already down. You 1-0, and it only takes 2 points to win. I think Cooper just has a skill of having Cooper's advantage is just he comes from these challenges with the most random skills that he's for some reason very, very good at. Like he's like, for some reason extremely good at memorizing like the position of random household objects and like rearranging them quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then now he's super good at this backyard game where you're throwing a ball over a net and faking people out. I was definitely impressed by how like he comes in a lot of these situations and challenges and just like it seems like be pretty well rounded. I remember he talked about being a threat a couple episodes ago, and that was before he like again basically single-handedly won a challenge for his tribe.
One skill he does not have though is digging up sand in volleyball courts.
He does though. He dug it perfectly for Shrowski to reach.
That's
right
true.
in.
He dug a great hole. He's not great at searching the holes.
He's a very good hole digger.
Mm-hmm.
He should be like
Jack,
be a grave digger.
Yeah.
Jack, I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah. What do you think, Matthew? You think that Cooper might be the next James Clement? Maybe the next great grave digger?
Yeah, I mean, the James, he's got a little bit of Joe, a little bit of Terry Dietz in him, a little bit of Brad Culpepper.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, basically the ultimate challenge beast, basically. So, I mean, we stood no chance in that challenge. I think that was pretty clear. But yeah, what do you guys think of after the challenge? I know they go to New Maison. It felt weird not to see myself in the yellow buff and to see Tarowski, Cooper, and Angela in the yellow buff. And I thought it was really interesting the conversation that happened afterwards with Leia and with Cooper about how Cooper felt very nervous. And then to see Leia and Liz go to Angela and basically see if Angela is willing to flip, and Angela basically stonewall them. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think Angela might consider flipping to New Maison? Do you think she might eventually? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I was like, yeah, definitely impressed with Angela and how like she definitely isn't easily manipulated. Like, because the girls are trying to they were basically kind of trying to sweet talk her a little bit, and then saying like, yeah, we kind of want to work with you, but then I think Angela is saying how they weren't actually like, they sounded very non-committal, and she picked up on that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I actually thought for some reason that Liz and Leia would be able to like charm her into like working with them, but she did not fall for it at all, which I was kind of surprised about, actually.
Yeah, because up until now, I mean, I guess Liz, we've seen more of her flaws, but it seems like they've kind of seemed a little bit unstoppable in a way. Like Leia hasn't really seen, I think, in the game a ton of adversity. It's kind of seemed like a lot of things.
She's facing Cooper in a challenge.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, she's 1-1.
Yeah,
1-1 in those. Or I guess now she's when going up face to face to Cooper. As that makes me some adversity, but no, in general, it's like she doesn't seem super challenged, I think. So it is kind of interesting seeing all of a sudden, like, for people like Liz and Leia, especially Leia, where things have mostly gone their way, for something to not really be as easy.
I don't think she would ever like cut ties and just say that she would never work with Liz and Leia. I think that she thinks she has better options, but like if given the opportunity, if she thought she could make a good move, I think that she would work with them for sure.
Yeah, I think it's definitely probably a good idea at first, especially if you're on like a 3-3 tribe. Like you really want to seem like your 3 is strong, so that like you convince the other people to like flip over to you. Mm-hmm. Like if you like show like any kind of like semblance of a fracture, like they're going to start wanting to start like breaking at that. Like it's different if you're swapped into a tribe where like you're on the majority. Maybe you can might be better to maybe give the other people some hope or whatever, and maybe things seem like they aren't as secure as they are. But like I feel like it's definitely the right move, at least when you're first meeting people, to just be like, no, I think like we're really solid. Like I think you guys should be flipping over to us.
Mm-hmm.
I think the even number dynamics, it worked out really well for George, so he could get it 3 versus 3. If you get where like one original tribe easily has the majority, then might not be as exciting to watch.
On the New Maison or Maison, whatever you want to call it,
Maison.
Oh, that's okay. There we go. There's
so Nula. So we've got Nula and Nuzan.
Yes.
Wait, maybe
Maison.
Maybe Maze 2 because it's like Maze 1 on Maze. Okay.
Well, I think if I had the naming rights, then I think that should have came over with me in the swap. Basically.
Exactly.
So.
Definitely should.
Wait, did you come up with Maze on
the naming rights? I think.
Wait a second. Wait, Maze on. Who came up with that?
Who came up with that?
Who came up with that?
Oh, yeah. I actually have the trademark to that name, so I was kind of upset that they were still using that when I wasn't in the tribe. But
wow.
Yeah. But it was
not getting any royalties or anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you guys got a little bit of New Maison. And then it's just right over to Nula / New Nila. And basically you get conversations with me and Akshay right after the challenge and with Mitch and Thal right after the challenge. And I think George did a good job of capturing basically everything that Akshay said to me right after that challenge. It was really interesting to hear him basically break it all down and, kind of tell me that, everything Cooper and Tarowski said to me was a lie. And I mean, basically, like, I felt bad because, we had kind of given up the summit because we felt that Cooper and Tarowski might have been in danger if they'd gone to tribal, and actually basically said, no, they totally played you and Mitch, which, was true. And then hearing him kind of toss Thal under the bus. And then the episode made it seem like I was the one who came up with the split. I still think it was Akshay who came up with the split to us, but I guess that's neither here nor there. After that conversation, he kind of agreed that we should do a 2-2 split. And then, Mitch had his talk with Thal. And then right afterwards, me, Mitch, and Brittany got on a call, and I basically laid it out for them. This is Akshay's plan. And then as you guys can see, the rest of the week is basically us going back and forth on whether or not to believe this plan. I had my opinions, but what would you guys have thought in that situation if somebody came to you and proposed splitting the vote?
I feel like Akshay was actually on top of his game this episode. Like, didn't he have you fooled? I
he did.
I remember you saying that you believed him fully.
Yeah, and he's told me after the game, like, I've asked him about this week, and he said that originally, like, whether I believe this or not, it was out of the game, so, like, he had reason to tell me the truth. But he said at first he was actually considering flipping on Thal, and then as soon as he talked to Mitch, which a little bit of that conversation is shown, he got a not great vibe from Mitch and thought that Mitch definitely didn't believe Akshay. And as soon as Akshay thought that Mitch didn't believe in the 2-2 plan, Akshay knew we probably weren't going to go along with it. And I was literally the only proponent of the 2-2 plan. And Mitch and Brittany said, don't do that. You'd be an idiot to do that. They were right. So we came up with a different plan. I think one of the main reasons I wanted the 2-2 plan is because Akshay had told me that I was getting votes. So I thought it would be riskier for us to actually put 3 votes on Lavana, because I thought if an idol got played on Lavana, I would go home. So that was my reasoning. It was broken down in the decision tree. You guys didn't see all of it, but I think at the moment that's why I wanted the 2-2 is because I trusted Akshay, and I thought that if we put 3 on somebody, that an idol could get played, and then if it did, then I would go home, basically.
Okay.
And I guess I was curious too, like, why it's Lavana's name that's being talked about and not Thal or Akshay, because Lavana, we see her as introduced as the team captain. We're going back. She drew the rock. I think this was probably one of the, if I had to choose out of all 13 of them, the one who would be the most fun to watch and be a team captain, it would probably be Lavana. I can't believe that it was her that drew the rock, because she didn't even know what a swap was. I think that, like, after there's a confessional right after the swap, she's like saying that she didn't even know what a swap was.
Yeah.
Right? She's like,
yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it was funny to hear Thal talk to Tarowski and be like, Lavana was just standing there and, kind of saying, next week we'll still have 6, just kind of ignoring what everybody else was thinking, which is, oh shit, we have to go to tribal council soon. But yeah, I mean, the reason we did vote for Lavana was because we didn't want to vote for Akshay because we still thought he might be with us. We didn't want to basically get rid of him. And then we thought Thal, out of the 2, Lavana and Thal was definitely most likely to have an idol. And then so we thought Lavana was our safest bet. And we were pretty limited on options. We basically had 3, and 2 were taken off the table. So it basically could only be Lavana.
And that's a good insight. I mean, Thal went to tribal with an idol in his pocket.
As did Mitch.
As did Mitch. That was a lot of power into that tribal with like 2 people carrying idols. That really surprised me. I was very surprised. Not super surprised that Tarowski would give Alex his idol.
Wait, Tarowski gave Thal his idol?
I don't think that was shown in the episode. They showed Tarowski thinking about giving it to him, and obviously Thal didn't play it. But I'm pretty sure I heard after the fact that at that tribal council, both Mitch and Thal had the actual idol in their pockets, which I had no idea at the time. At that tribal council, I had no idea 2 idols were at that tribal council. So Did
you have any inkling that Mitch would have it, or that?
I thought Leia had it, but I had no idea that Leia
would give it to Mitch.
Yeah, would have given it to Mitch. But we all kind of thought Leia had it, even though it hadn't been confirmed or anything like that, even though nobody had said it. And also the fact that neither of them played idols is pretty crazy to think about, because I don't think either of them felt entirely safe. Akshay had been telling us during the week it could be like we might vote for Matthew, we might vote for Mitch. And obviously they ended up voting for Brittany. So I think Mitch thought he definitely could get votes. And then Thal obviously had heard his name tossed out via Akshay, even though Akshay said this is my fake plan, Thal still thought there was a possibility he could get votes. So the fact that both of them held on to that idol is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it seemed to me kind of like an old Western stare down. I feel like if one of them played the idol especially correctly, then instantly, of course, the other person would have played the idol. But it was just kind of almost playing chicken and like, okay, like I don't want to like be a fool and play this idol right now when like we could still have the advantage, even though it's like 3-3 and like there's not like if nobody flips, you're going to rocks, which would be I can't imagine wanting to go to rocks if you have an idol in your pocket and like being that willing to.
Yeah, I think both of them. I think Mitch only would have played it if like Thal had stood up and given idol to Lavana, because Mitch knew he voted 3 for Lavana.
Yeah.
So basically, if he saw Thal stand up and play it for himself, then Mitch, I don't know if he would have played it because he would have known that all 3 and Lavana would basically still count. But yeah, that tribal was literally the first, and I think I mentioned this, where like I had no idea what's happening. That was kind of the first week where the game caught up to me, and I realized like this is actually a game. This is actually real Survivor being played, because there were so many different possibilities that week that drove myself crazy, and I went into tribal having no idea what would happen. I was really 50-50 on whether Akshay would go with us and what could happen, and that was the first tribal where I was like, somehow it could be me at this tribal council, which I hadn't really felt before. So the tribal was a whirlwind, and I think you see on my face, like when the votes are being read, it took me a long time to process really what had happened. And after it was 3-3, I was like, wait, it shouldn't have been 3-3. Akshay should have flipped. And then I had to realize, like, oh wait, he didn't flip.
Yeah, well, Brittany was especially freaking out during this tribal because she got votes. Like, her reaction throughout the whole thing, like, she kept looking at you and Mitch. She was, like, freaking out.
Yeah, she was definitely, yeah, because that was the only name that hadn't been thrown out. Akshay had basically told us all week, it's like, we're either going to vote for you or we're going to vote for Mitch. So as soon as we saw Brittany's name written down, I was like, wait a second, something went wrong. Like, I didn't think Brittany was getting votes. And then once she got 3, it took a second to sink in, but I realized, oh wait, Akshay was totally playing us.
So were you considering at all flipping on her? Or I feel like it seems like you and Brittany are pretty close. So
yeah, honestly, I didn't want to go to rocks, but honestly, I thought Mitch might flip. And like, I was kind of half hoping he would, so that we could avoid rocks, basically. I really didn't even have time to consider the fact whether Thal might flip. And as you see, like once Mitch gets back from revoting and like he doesn't hold Brittany's hand, I thought like, oh shoot, like Mitch flipped. Like, I was half glad, half sad. I was glad that we might not have to go to rocks, but sad that he had flipped. Basically, I was pretty sure he did. And then when I saw 3 for Lavana, you can see it on my face. I'm like, I was really confused. I was like, how did that happen? And then it took me a couple of seconds, but then we realized that Mitch hadn't flipped and that Thal had flipped, and it was pretty crazy. Definitely did not expect that in my decision tree. That was definitely not a possibility.
Yeah.
Wow, you overlooked
Let's talk about the
something?
decision tree. Oh my god, that was a great scene where it shows you just like it's seemingly talking forever as it's just like zooming in as you're just talking about all this could happen, or this could happen, or this could happen, or this could happen, and you just keep going.
Like, so you go through all these things that could be possible, and like blah blah blah. This could be happening this time, but the one thing that you were sure of that wasn't happening was that Akshay had just been lying to you the whole week.
Yeah, I think that was one of the branch. Well, I just kind of laid out. It was like one branch was 3-1 and the other branch was 2-2. Basically, what would happen if we went with the 2-2 and Akshay was with us? If he wasn't, what would happen if we go with the 3-1 and Akshay's with us? Akshay isn't with us, and then a bunch of if X plays an idol and stuff like that. But I don't think I ever had the scenario in there where it like ends up tied, no idols played correctly, and Thal flipped. So that was totally unexpected, but definitely a pleasant surprise when we realized afterwards that he had flipped. And then you guys will get to see the fallout from that. It showed a little bit in the preview. You guys will get to see us talking to Thal right after Tribal Council in the next episode. That was an interesting conversation too. So that you guys will have to wait for next episode. Next episode is amazing too, by the way. I know I keep saying this, but literally every single week it keeps getting better. So if you guys thought this episode was good, like honestly, next episode will be better. I can promise you that. Next episode is very, very good too.
Ooh, all right. Getting excited for it. Giving us a little bit of a sneak peek. That definitely was a very solid, I think one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting episode so far has been this one.
Yeah, basically this is when tribals started to get exciting. Basically, you have the summit, you have the scavenger hunt, you have fun challenges, and I guess the Jonathan tribal and the Sarah were kind of blindsides. But Maison tribals had been pretty boring. After the swap was when the game really picked up in terms of the strategy, relationships, tribal councils, and all that stuff. So you guys are really in for a treat. I guess how many's been 6 episodes? There'll probably be about 6 or 7 more. So you guys are about halfway through, and trust me, the second half is better than the first. So
that's amazing. Wow.
Also, a lot of people are wondering, Lavana's exit speech, she was talking about Thal and like implying that they had like a thing going on or whatever. But we have a new segment in our podcast, basically called Insider Info from George. It's insider info from the true master of Survivor Michigan.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear. I don't know what it's gonna be.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we're gonna play a clip of something that George played
Oh,
for us.
You never do know what's around the bend. Big adventure or brand new friend when you're curious. I like curious Joe. Swag!
Hey, Keep Your Torch Lit crew, it is I, George Jane, your friendly neighborhood Survivor Michigan host, and apparently going forward, we're doing a new segment on your show, and I get to be a part of it. So all the fans out there, I'm sorry that you have to continue to hear my voice. Hopefully that bodes well with some of you. But I'm here to give you all some insider information about this week's episode. It had to be about one thing and one thing only. It is about our queen, Levana. Rip to Levana. She had a very interesting little conversation with herself in her post-memoriam after she was voted off at the end of the episode. She talked about a possible more than friendship relationship with Alex Thal. And to a lot of you, including myself, that was kind of out of the blue. But this actually stems back to about the first week when Levana, well, for the first couple of weeks, was kind of saying the right Alex at her confessionals, and she kept calling Alex Tarowski kind of like, cool, maybe attractive, kind of flirty with her. And then after about maybe the third week, she realized she'd been talking about the wrong Alex this whole time, and it was great, and I didn't put it in because it'd be way too confusing for everyone. But yeah, there was really nothing more than that. It is as weird as you think it is, and I love every minute of it. And yeah, it was kind of maybe a one-sided thing, maybe more of a inside Levana's mind kind of thing, but it was great nonetheless. And I'm so glad that 90% of her goodbye confessional was just talking about that. So thank you guys for having me on again, and hopefully I can send in another insider information next week.
That is awesome.
Gosh.
Thank you so much, George.
That was good to hear. That was interesting. I wish it had been an actual showman's, but
Yeah. And maybe he wouldn't have slipped on her if it would have been a little more of an actual showman's.
possible. Then we would have had to go to Rock.
Yeah,
I'm glad he fled. We would have had to go to Rock.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I want to talk about that just very briefly of how, dang, that was cold. That flip was definitely not what I was expecting. I thought that it was very funny to watch Akshay holding Thal's hand on one side and Levana on the other. And then it's letting go of Thal's hand as the last goes red. Oh my god!
I think people do realize though, at that moment in the game, it made total sense for Thal to flip because he wasn't super tight with Levana, and he knew Kara would come back into the game, so he knew it would still be 3-3 going into the next week, and he would have Kara instead of Levana instead of risking rocks. So Mitch actually, that's the reason basically Mitch didn't flip, which he told me after the game was because he was actually really confident that Thal would flip. I didn't even thought of that. My mind wasn't even working during the rebuild, but apparently Mitch was going through it and thinking, I think Thal's going to flip, so I shouldn't flip.
Imagine if they would both flip. That would have been kind of fun.
The double flip, yes.
Yeah. Ooh. I guess we've kind of discovered the limits to Levana's powers. She wasn't able to make Thal fall in love with her,
I think actually what we see in this episode is that Levana used too much of her powers. I think she got kind of greedy. It was slowly kind of building up. First, it was just kind of reading people's minds. It was mind control. Then it was levitation. And I think her mind got so outside of itself that the mind that was still within Levana, it had short-term memory loss. She couldn't even remember.
She turned a short circuit a little bit. She was just seeing a little bit too much of it.
Yeah.
And all the way to the point where she's starting to she's short circuiting. She's having this conversation with herself at the end.
Yeah.
That was, her post tribal speech. That was iconic. It's classic, iconic Levana. Man, I'm definitely gonna miss seeing her on the screen. But if she would have made the merge, she would have spelled it too overpowered. It wouldn't have even been fun to watch.
Yeah.
I just think from the moment she stepped on in episode 1, she's just been an electrifying presence on screen, and it's weird to me Survivor Michigan season 1 without her. But have to move on. So what do we think was the biggest flaw in Levana's game? Why did she end up getting voted out this week?
I think she was a little too comfortable with where she was at. I don't think she thought she was in danger at all. And so I don't think she really met with a lot of people, I guess.
Yeah. Did you meet with Lavana at all?
No, I think Mitch might have been the only person that talked to her all week. Actually, I think I did talk to her at one point, although I don't think anything strategic happened in that conversation. Also, I would have remembered it. But yeah, I don't think she talked that much to us. I think mainly she got her info that week from Akshay, and he kind of told her what was going down.
Yeah, I definitely think that Lavana was a lot of fun to watch, but yeah, like I remember one of you said earlier, I think it was Jack, she's probably treating this more like a vlog than Survivor. And that's why it's like I'm sad to see her go, but also can't be too surprised about it either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's the type of person and the type of play style that if she would have made it to merge, she could have floated like very far to the end, because I don't think she would have been. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think she would have been seen as like that much of a threat, especially if she would have just somebody that would kind of like tell her what to do. She could be maybe just like a solid number of an alliance. But
yeah, I think that's true. I think the only reason that it was her this week, was really nothing that she did wrong. She wasn't seen as a threat, just kind of because we had no other options and thought flips. So this was like, Lavana was sitting pretty good. This was one of like a series of unfortunate events, I guess, that kind of led up to her being voted out. But if she had survived this week, I think she, could have made it pretty far in the game.
Yeah, and I can't really knock her for. I think honestly she drafted her tribe pretty well. I mean, either way is going to be 3-3, and choosing Akshay is probably. I mean, I guess like Cooper would have been good too, but like Cooper's chosen first, so she couldn't even have chosen him. So like choosing Akshay was smart because he was basically her biggest ally left. I think that she drafted her tribe pretty well for not knowing what a swap is. I kind of agree. I don't know how much more she really could have done to save her game.
Do we think Akshay would be in danger next week if they went to tribal again?
Well, if Kara joining their tribe, it's still going to be a 3-3.
Yeah, I don't know, because I definitely also like kind of feel like Ball's already kind of shown that he's not extremely loyal to Akshay and Lavana. I mean, even then they were kind of like on separate sides in their own tribe. Like that's why I guess I can't be too surprised about him flipping, because like, ideally he would have wanted to vote out one of them if Neela had gone to tribal. So I'm not surprised that he's not loyal to them at all. And now that he has Kara, who is on his side, and Akshay, who isn't, I feel like I could definitely see his easy target being Akshay, someone that's kind of shown to be a threat by kind of pulling the veil over Matthew and the rest of Maison's eyes for the entire week, and then now like the only person on the tribe left that was on the wrong side of this vote. I could definitely see Akshay as kind of being kind of the number one obvious target.
But I can also see the flip side of that happening. Akshay now knows that Thal flipped on him and his closest ally, so Akshay, I could very well see being like, all right, fuck this Neela stuff. I'm going to swing over to, Matthew and the gang. So
true.
Yeah, like I said, next week's an amazing episode. I'm sad I can't do back-to-back podcasts because next week's an amazing episode as well. But yeah, I'm sure everybody will enjoy it. Envy all the fans who get to watch this for the first time, not knowing what happens. Guys are in for a really good back half to the season, I guess.
It's awesome.
I noticed that Kara is in crutches next week, so I'm wondering what happened to her on Exile Island. Maybe she had to battle a bear.
Where do you think Exile Island is on the University of Michigan campus? Like, I feel like they might have just sent her to East Lansing or something for the week.
Or North Campus.
Yeah. Oh, that's an exile. I don't know if anybody could ever come back in North Campus.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Maybe she got injured doing rowing stuff. Maybe she got hit by a bus. You never know what happened. Maybe she ran into some wild animals in Exile Island that kind of had to fight them off. Yeah. I definitely want to see a little bit more of Kara's escapades. I guess we'll see. Maybe we're going to see a crazy fight that Kara's involved in and lands her in crutches. Wow,
I'm excited.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this episode was fun for me to watch. I was back at home last weekend, so I got to watch this one with my family. So I got to get some of my mom's reactions.
Your mom?
Yeah.
Miss Morris, what is she saying about this episode of Spot Michigan?
Oh. So my mom definitely was like, oh, that Cam, I just feel like I know someone that looks, you're friends with Cam, right? I recognize him. I know that kid. You must be friends with him. I'm like, no, Mom.
Whoa.
I've not actually met Cam in real life, but she's like, oh, I recognize him. I've seen him somewhere. You're one of his friends, right? You must be tagging the Facebook photo together. No, Mom. I don't know.
You know why I think she said that, Sam? So,
Why?
on our Facebook page, the cover photo is of season 1, and one of Sam's relative comments, like, "Where's Sam in this picture?" And then was it your mom who commented, "I think he's like second from back," and it was Cam.
That was my grandma, but
Okay,
maybe
okay.
it runs in the family.
It runs in the family.
Oh, very well could be.
So basically, your mom thinks he's familiar because she thinks it's you.
Maybe. I'm definitely. I didn't break my arm like Cam did, but I guess we're both tall. We have kind of defined tall over the course of this podcast, and I think that Cam probably fits into that.
How tall are you, Matthew? Viewers are dying to know.
I think 6, maybe just a little bit under.
It's 5'11".
5'11".
Oh.
Sophia,
You just gotta round up. Round up.
Who's taller, me or you?
All right, Jack and Matthew are now standing
you
up.
got me, but-
Jack has a hat on, and it still looks like
Matthew
Matthew.
has a Jufro, so it's kind of tough to come up.
That's true.
Yeah, my hair is really long right now.
It looks like Matthew is a
think you
little
got me.
bit
I think you got me.
taller. Yeah. Another thing that my mom was saying is that Lavana is just like ridiculous. I don't know. They were watching the bathroom scene, and my mom was just like, "What the heck? Like, why is she bringing her phone into the bathroom? Like, it's unsanitary." I don't know if my mom was as amused by Lavana's antics as I was.
My mom actually shared the same opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a mom
I'll be
opinion.
fun, Matthew.
No.
Here's the thing. I want to make a little statement here about how this podcast we are reviewing Survivor Michigan, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And here's some constructive criticism that my mom said that we can take with a grain of salt because of, but that she's like, "Oh, there's so much talking. These episodes are so long," And I personally, I like the content. I think that everything is just exciting to watch. I want to know what's going to happen. I want to know what everyone's thinking, what's going to happen going into tribal. But I think that, when I'm thinking about it, George's catering is making a very good season, but he's also making it for an audience who, I think most of the audience of Survivor Michigan are people who are very into Survivor and who are very interested in the strategic side of things and
the type of people who can name off every season in order.
Exactly.
Yeah, those people. But I will say, I think it, especially this episode, George hit exactly everything that needed to be included. They needed to be included, and nothing that didn't need to be included.
Mm-hmm.
So just when you have episodes where literally a lot happened this week, sometimes an hour and 9 minutes is exactly what you need. So props to George for fitting everything in.
Props to you. Oh yeah, I totally agree. I think it's kind of an interesting thing about the Survivor Michigan audience. My mom is definitely one of the more casual fans of Survivor, and the rest of my family. Whereas they've watched Survivor for years, but they're not watching it. They're not listening to these these podcasts analyzing strategy. They're not on the r/Survivor subreddit, looking at memorizing everyone's names and knowing every single season in order. They're kind of they're watching it to be entertained by Survivor characters. They love the moments where it's Matthew is, calling himself the lion, the king of the jungle, or the lion or whatever. Or they love the moments where, Mitch is sending the wrong text messages to the wrong group. That's the part they love. Then it gets into the strategy and they, kind of zone out a little bit. So I think that's a little interesting note, I think, on Survivor fans. I think that George is doing a phenomenal job with the episodes. But that's also to say that there's definitely different levels of fans who watch Survivor. I think George is doing a good job at making an episode that's appealing to everybody, which is why I think we're gaining a following really fast. But that's not to say there aren't going to be some people who will watch a very strategic and very a layered episode like this one and be their thought might just be oh, that was a lot of talking. I mean, there literally was a scene where it showed Matt going into naming off 50 different scenarios back to back to back of what could happen, which that's just how that's how that tribal went. There's a lot going on, and I thought it was really, really made for really captivating television in my mind.
Definitely.
Okay, so basically, I was gonna have Matthew list all the seasons and time him and see how long it takes.
Oh my gosh.
You guys can put me on the spot?
No, that's funny because I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking that we could do a race to see who of us three here or you, Sarah, too, can do it the fastest.
We should just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and whoever messes up first loses.
So some insider info on me though. I didn't really watch Survivor till after I played, so I'm actually only on season 25 right now, so I couldn't really name any.
I don't know if Sarah.
that.
I don't know if Sarah can play. Sam, do you feel
No,
confident?
Sarah can just be the first person to lose.
Yes, she will. No, we'll keep going from there.
Yeah.
All right, I'll get it started. Okay, Borneo,
Australia.
Africa.
Marquesas.
Thailand,
The Amazon.
All no. Pearl
Ah!
Islands. Wait, who started?
we'll give them credit.
Pearl
Yeah.
Islands.
All Stars.
Vanuatu,
Palau.
Guatemala.
Panama.
Cook Islands.
Fiji.
China.
Micronesia.
Yeah, you got it. Gabon,
Tocantins.
Samoa.
Heroes versus Villains.
Nicaragua,
Redemption Island.
South Pacific.
One World.
Philippines.
Caramoan.
Blood versus water.
This is where I don't know.
Okay, I'll pick up. Sarah's out. Cagayan,
San Juan del Sur.
Worlds apart.
Cambodia,
Kaorong.
Millennials versus Gen X.
Game Changers,
Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers.
Ghost Island.
David vs. Goliath.
Edge of Extinction.
There we go. Impressive.
You guys were so nerdy. I love it.
Yeah, we can do that 3 times as fast.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, let's
Good.
keep doing it until we get it.
Good, good job, everybody.
Thank you so much, Matthew, for joining us this week. This has been an amazing look into the mind of a lion, of a genius, of a homicide detective, of a master, whatever you want to call him.
Just call me Matthew.
Matthew Israel.
Yeah.
That has to be both.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you so much for having us on. Well, actually, you didn't have us. But we had you on, but you had us into your home. Yeah, thank you for that.
But excited for you guys to see the rest of the season and can't wait to keep listening.
Yeah.